heard by now of the events that took place at a Cincinnati Zoo recently, where a 3-year-old boy made his way into one of the animal pens where he met a 17-year-old silverback gorilla named Harambe. Now, in a way similar to that which we saw with Cecil the lion event, this event has set off a firestorm in the media world across the country, both in traditional news outlets and in social media. Some folks claiming that the parents of the boy should be held responsible for Harambe's death, while others on social media even threaten the lives of the boy's parents. Now, may we, together with these folks, mourn the loss of Harambe? Absolutely, right? But the reaction seems to be, overstated and overdone, and it seems odd to some of us. But instead of dismissing their position right offhand, I think it's important that we ask why do some people have this kind of powerful reaction when the death of an animal takes place. Now, I'm not a legal expert by any means, so I'm not going to comment on whether I'm not going to comment on the culpability according to the law that the boy's parents should be held to. But I would like to comment on the latter because I think it's paradigmatic of a certain direction that we're moving in our society today, where many are seeking to promote the idea that all are really equal, all created things are really equal. And I think it's important that we analyze that. And why is that? Why are they pushing to move society in such a direction? Well, to begin, I think, though overstated, their position recognizes many certain truths of the created world. To begin, they recognize, as God does, that everything that He created is good, right? So after every day of creation, God looks at what He has done over the day and He says it is good, right? With the exception of day 2, which anticipates the flood, right? So I think the folks that are very adamant when it comes to animal rights are recognizing this. They're recognizing the goodness of creation. Secondly, I think they recognize rightly the beauty that all created things have, right? And this is something that the Christian tradition has recognized for millennia, right? We can think back to Thomas Aquinas, who said that all created things radiate with the beauty of Him who created them. They participate in a way in His beauty, right? We can think to Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si, where he writes, recalling the teachings of the Franciscan Saint Bonaventure, who wrote that every created thing testifies that God is three, and that every created thing has a specifically Trinitarian structure if we were only able to see it, if we only took the time to see it. So I think the truths and the beauty of creation is something that's implicitly recognized by folks that are very adamant on behalf of animals like Cecil and Harambe. And lastly, I think they rightly recognize that history and all of creation is moving in a certain direction. In fact, yearns for a situation where all is one, right? This is similar to the prayer of Jesus, right, in the Gospel of John, where He prays that all may be one. And St. Paul tells us in the letter to the Romans that all of creation is yearning, right, for redemption, for all to be one. Okay. But this prayer of Jesus, that all will be one, he doesn't say that all will be the same thing. In fact, this prayer celebrates diversity. It's the Christian idea that though all will someday be in perfect communion with the Creator, with God, that we maintain our distinction and our unique existence, right? And so this is the first failing of the position of folks that are very adamant when it comes to animal rights. Secondly, I think arguments like this really fail Harambe, right, or Cecil, because they fail to recognize their uniqueness, by virtue of creation, right? Harambe, to be sure, testifies to the beauty of God, but he doesn't testify to the beauty of God in the same way that, say, the robin would testify to the beauty of God, or the lily of the field would testify to the beauty of God. Harambe testifies to the beauty of God in his own unique way, right? Think about the strength, right, and the size of Harambe, and we can see reflected there the immensity and the omnipotence, of our God, right? And so he reflects God, the Creator, in a way that the rest of the created world doesn't, right? By his just being a gorilla, right? And secondly, and similarly, they fail to recognize the uniqueness of the human person, in this case represented by the 3-year-old boy, okay? Created in the image and likeness of God, the human person has a special and unique dignity that the rest of the created world doesn't have. Now, that stated, I would never advocate, and my position does not advocate for a human family that is domineering when it comes to the rest of the created world. Far from it. We can remember here, I recall, at least the teaching or reflections of Bishop Robert Barron on the first story of creation in Genesis 1, right? He likens the 6-day creation story to a liturgical procession, right? So what do you see in the 6-day story of creation? You see the various elements of the created world proceeding in. You see light, darkness, land, sea, right? Plants. You see creatures of the air and creatures of the sea, and you see all the land creatures, right? And last comes in the human person, created in the image and likeness of God. All right, in a similar way, think of what a liturgical procession looks like, right? All the various participants make their way into the church or to the location where the worship is about to take place, and then the last person to enter is the individual who will be leading the worship, right? Who will be leading the congregation in the right praise of the Creator, of God. In a similar way, then, the human person, the creation of the human person last, can be seen as the proceeding in of the individuals in this case, that will lead all of creation, right, in the right worship of God the Creator. Okay? And I think this notice too celebrates the diversity of each role, of each created thing in its own unique way. I think this is, very important to recognize that when the diversity is lost, we lose that orchestral harmony of the quality of praise that creation should have when it comes to their relationship with God. Okay, it's interesting to note that in Genesis, the first indication that we have of the death of an animal comes after the fall, right? So the fall takes place, God finds the humans that are our first parents that have succumbed to temptation, and after pronouncing certain judgments on them, he presents them with animal skins to cover themselves, right? To, in essence, really protect their dignity from each other. Because now, looking upon each other, their fallenness makes them susceptible to looking at the other in a less than human way, as an object for use, right? I think in a very beautiful and poetic way, the death of Harambe makes the same testament, right? So the zoo officials correctly determined, that the humanness of the 3-year-old boy made him of more value than Harambe, and in his gorillaness. It's just a recognition of the diversity there, right? We hold on to the human life because it has the ability to lead creation to right relationship with the Creator. Right? I think it's important we recognize that. And lastly, I think Harambe has a very important lesson to teach us. If we look at what Harambe's name means, in Swahili, Harambe means to work together or to pull together. Okay? So what is this situation calling us to in light of who Harambe was? I think it's calling us to work together, right? To work together to create a world where each created thing is recognized for its own unique beauty and respected because of its own unique beauty. And if we look at the situation that way and take a look at that last lesson that Harambe has to teach us, I think he has more to say than any of us would have dared to imagine.